My wife and I are in a poly relationship. I'm 29, she's 28, and her partner is 30. When my wife and I started the poly chapter of our lives, we both agreed that our partners would not be allowed direct involvement with disciplining our son. For example, they would not lay hands on our son. They can put him in timeout or tell him no, take his devices from him or whatever, but they are not to, in this example, backhand him to the floor for saying the F word, which is exactly what happened. I had just walked inside from the back porch and my wife was in the shower getting ready for their date. I don't know what transpired for my son to drop the F-bomb, but he is only 7, so who knows. However, when I heard him say it and then my wife's partner yelled at him to not speak like that, followed by a loud smack and my son crying, I rushed into the living room where my son was on his butt and the partner was standing over him. I asked my wife's partner if he had just struck my son. He said no, that I was just imagining things. I warned him that if I found out he was lying and he had indeed struck my son, that there would be consequences. We have a pretty nice security system in our home, with cameras in almost every room but our bathrooms and the guest room. I went and opened the app and the cameras on my phone and watched what happened. He had indeed hit my son. So, am I the asshole for breaking his nose and kicking him out before their date? My wife's neutral and she understands where I'm coming from, but at the same time she thinks that I overreacted. And I may have, but that's my fucking son and no one has the right to put their hands on him in a violent manner. I don't even spank him. There are more constructive ways to discipline. I could really use some advice.
Would I be the asshole if I showed my boyfriend the Excel document that details how much money I've spent on him? My 21 female boyfriend 20 male asks me pretty much daily to buy him things. Normally smaller things like cigs, disposable vapes, kratom, or caffeine at the gas station, but it really adds up. He buys shots of kratom, which is the biggest cost since it's $15.89 a day. I know that doesn't seem like much, but it's $500 a month added up. You may be wondering why I'm just giving him this money, and I swear I'm not. I've tried to say no, but I literally feel like I can't say no to him successfully. He'll say stuff like my day is ruined, or can't you just be nice this one time, and it makes me feel really awful. One time when I didn't want to buy him something, he told me I didn't give a shit about him and kept spamming me at work until I was crying in my cubicle. I'm not kidding when I say it's a daily thing. Sometimes he'll wake me up early in the morning and I work late shifts, so I normally sleep till 11 a.m. He'll ask for my debit card to go to the gas station to buy what he wants, and if I say no, he'll get really upset. Then if I say no, he'll do what I said before and keep asking, and I won't get to sleep again until I say yes. This has caused me to go to work incredibly sleep deprived. He doesn't have a job and I work full-time and go to college full-time. I don't think he has a concept of money spending or making. There have been times when I'll save small amounts of money for emergencies, and then once he finds out, it's gone in a few days. I'm not a big money maker and I just got a raise where I make $18.50 an hour. What really irked me though is that just recently he told me that I'm irresponsible with money, to be broke all the time, and that I have no reason to be struggling. He brought up how I spent $20 on Sims, but it was the first time I bought something for myself in months. Then he said I spent more money on my exes. I found that since August alone, I've spent almost $5,000 on him. I put it into an Excel document. Should I share it with him?
Okay, so story time about Becca the bully. So a little background information. I was 16 and in 10th grade. So I had been in the same school all my life, and I've also had all of the same friends. I never like switched friend groups, you know, or anything like that. So for my parents to say in the middle of the school year, like, hey, we have to leave for my job, I was pretty pissed off. And with that being said, I was pretty excited only because we lived in, I guess you could say, the country. Probably not, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but still. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of background information about my life at home before I had moved. I was pretty much the baddest bitch in my school. Like, my girls and I ran the school for as long as I can remember. This low-key sounds like a Mean Girl movie. What the fuck? Anyways, basic bitches wanted to know me or be me, and I never had a problem with getting any single guy that I wanted because all of them liked me. This girl's pretty cocky, I would say. But okay, sis, go off. We were super respected and kind of feared, I would say, even by the teachers, because my parents were very important people. Well, pretty much my friends and I's parents were very important people. I'm not even gonna lie, we were really mean, especially to this one girl who ended up moving schools. She ended up going out with one of my best friend's boyfriends, and when we confronted her about it, she said that she had no idea that they were even together, which is a complete lie because they would walk around the school holding hands and everything like that. But okay, lie to my face. So literally in 8th grade, we put bird shit in her hair and called her, I'm a terrible person, Bird Turd Becca. I definitely regret that now looking back at it, but nothing ever happened. We never got suspended or anything like that, and that just really shows how much power we had in this school. Like, we could just make people disappear like that. But anyways, like I said, new city, new me, leave the old in the past, right? That was the plan here. I would say the first couple weeks were okay. Nothing major happened, but weird things would happen here and there. Just things that weren't in the ordinary. But I would say about a month into me being at this school is whenever things kind of took a turn for the worst. The one day while I had been in gym class, I went back to the locker room and my clothes were missing, so I had to wear sweaty gym clothes the rest of the day. But then after that, even more shit started happening, and I thought that could have been a coincidence. I was like, okay, like maybe somebody just stole my clothes, you know, people are like that. So I had took this 2-hour test for history class, and after I was done with the test, I took it up to the bin and I put it in. Well, the next day, whenever I go into history class, my teacher tells me that I never turned in the test and that I have to take it again. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I put it in, and then people after me went up and put their stuff in the bin, and after you take the test, you can't look at your phone or anything. So the only thing I really had to do was sit there and just watch people put their tests in the bin, wondering when I could go on my phone again. So I was like, whatever, at this point I really had no choice but to take the test again. And also, weirdly enough, so in the morning, whenever you got to school, you had to go and you had to check in on this iPad, right? And you had to like show your student ID every time, and only one student was allowed in there at a time, so you had to kind of go in one at a time. It was only for the students that drove to school too. So I would go in there, and then the freaking door would be locked and I couldn't go out to, you know, get into the hallway. And it was weird, so I had to like stay in there, wait, kind of pound on the door, and somebody would have to come by and unlock it. So it was like that kind of weird stuff that was happening. And the worst thing that happened was the one day I'm sitting in my math class, and all of a sudden a security guard comes and says that they need to see me. They walk me down to the office, and the principal tells me like, hey, like somebody came and told us that you were handing out test answers to people and that you were cheating on tests and stuff like that. And they even had my history teacher there who was like, yeah, like her test did go missing, you know, like missing. He was being a dick. And they were like, so we searched your locker and we found one of the Scantrons with all of the test answers bubbled in. So of course I told them, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, nobody's out here stealing no test answers. Like, I don't need that. Like, I was smart. I got A's just because I'm smart, duh. So of course, because I couldn't prove that I didn't know what the hell they were talking about, I got suspended for 2 weeks and they gave me an F for the rest of the semester for that class. Lovely. Mind you, I had never gotten an F in my life. I've always had A's and B's. I mean, out of all this going on, there was one thing that made it better. I had met this boy, and funny thing, he was actually one of the first people that I met at this school. Eventually, after a few weeks of knowing each other, we decided to start dating. We got along super well. And after I told him about the whole suspension thing, he said that he would come and visit me every day of my suspension after school. But he never showed up, of course, because what? Men ain't shit, period. And I would say the worst thing is the 6th day of my suspension, I had went to school to grab some papers, and I had to go into each of these classes to get them. Well, when I'm walking in the hallway, I see him kissing some other girl. I mean, not that weird, to be honest. Like we said, men are shit, they cheat, is what it is. I went home, I texted him, we're done. But then later that day I'm on Instagram and I realized I was tagged in a picture. And the caption of this picture said bird love with a bunch of laughing emojis, which I was like, what the fuck, why was I tagged in this? Nothing really was making too much sense. But after my suspension was over, I went to school with my parents and we all decided that it was time for me to switch schools. My parents were pissed off too because they told the school, like, she's never done this. If you look back on, you know, like everything from the previous school that she was in, no bad notes or anything like that, right? But as soon as they heard that I was willing to switch schools, they were like, all right, you know, yes, you probably should do that. They did not disagree. So pretty much after I left that meeting, everything became quite clear to me on what the hell was going on. So of course, because I had like 3 days left of school before I switched schools, I went to gym class and I went into one of the stalls to change. And while I'm getting changed, quite literally a bucket of bird shit comes falling over the one side of the stall. It gets all over me. It's like in my hair, in my eyes. It was quite disgusting, actually. I went blind for probably 4 minutes and all I could hear was laughing on the outside of the stall door. So I tried opening one of my eyes to grab a piece of clothing that thankfully didn't have bird shit on it. I wiped my eyes, opened the stall, and realized that the girl that I bullied from my school was the one who was doing all this shit to me. She was standing there laughing with her friends, and I went to walk out of the stall so that way I could probably like beat her, when all of a sudden the stall gets slammed back at my face, hits me in the head, and I fall, and I'm like screaming at this point. Thankfully, they had showers in the locker room, so I ran over to the shower. I wasn't going to tell any of the teachers about it because, listen, the teachers like to gossip, and I wasn't about to have everybody knowing that I got bird shit poured all over me, even though there's probably a video on it somewhere on the internet. We don't know. But I was pretty livid, to say the least. And usually after gym class, we would all take a shower. So I grabbed my shower shit, went into the shower, and the only clean clothes that I had at this point were my gym clothes, but I just skipped school after that. Like, it wasn't happening. I wasn't about to fucking walk into gym class and act like everything was okay when it really wasn't. But the next day, whenever I went into school, there was a whole meeting on why one of the stalls were filled with bird shit. And of course I told the teachers because, excuse me, you're not about to get away with bullying me. You got me fucked up. Like, sorry, girly. She got suspended. And then, of course, I told the teachers that she's the one who's been doing all this crazy shit to me. Of course, they thought it was some conspiracy or whatever. But then they had checked the cameras in the hallway and saw her going in and putting the test answers in my locker and stuff like that. But I guess at the end of the day, I did get a taste of my own medicine. I mean, Becca was my bully the whole time and I didn't even know. All the pranks and, pranks and dirty games that she was playing, I completely walked into. So, I mean, good for her, you know. She got me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am really thankful, I guess, because I learned a lot from her, and to this day, I don't judge or bully. I listen and help, because at the end of the day, no one person is better than the other. But I decided to stay at that school instead of moving. Like I said, I told the principal about all the shit. She got suspended. She came back. And at the end of the day, her and I did end up becoming really good friends.
And need advice on disappearing from his life. And as usual follows with multiple updates. Throwaway account. I, female 36, have dated Nick, male 37, for 3 years. I wasn't perfect, but my perception is that we have had an overall positive relationship until a year ago when I caught him cheating. I'm financially independent and have been a careful planner in terms of my finances. I'll be completely debt-free on January 2022. I had a hard time forgiving him, but he did everything to regain my trust, and we had a somewhat smooth run for about 8 months. He asked me to help him start a business, which I did in part. I wrote the plan according to his idea, coached him through getting his permits and all other steps. He didn't follow through. First it was that he didn't have time. Then it was he was anxious because getting it off the ground wouldn't be immediate. So in other words, I created a business for him where I would be his main client. This sounded like a happy medium since he wanted me to appoint him as my partner, and that's unthinkable. For background, I went to college, and while being an average student, I did work hard later on when I found my first job to make up for not having an excellent academic record. I earned certificates and invested in my education however I could to improve my chances. It paid off. I've been self-employed since I was 28. When I met Nick, he told me he owned a small agency but was about to get a government job since the economy wasn't helping. I was perfectly okay with that. Things were going well until I found out that he was seeing his ex. This was a huge blow for me because I didn't know what I did for him to do this. I did everything in my power to be supportive and to be a reliable SO. I did my best to look nice for him, and I was contributing to the household. I paid half of everything, and it was my place. We had a long crisis until I chose to forgive and let go. During this new honeymoon phase, he got a better job, treated me with love, and was very attentive to my feelings. I began to see red flags early this past October. He suddenly wanted me to be hands-off from his startup, didn't want to go out, and lost interest in sex. He became grouchy and rude. It was all about him and his needs. He had lost his job last year due to COVID. We moved to a house I leased in January. I loved the house, but it created friction between us. I'm an animal lover. My landlord doesn't interfere with my pet-related activities as long as I keep the place clean. I built a catio for my 10 plus cats that I've rescued. It's an indoor space with controlled temperature, and all their supplies are available to them 24/7. This was my dream. I wanted to help those kitties stay off the street since I've been feeding them for years. Also, they have all their shots. One of them had CKD but bounced back. And after a quick Google, their CKD is chronic kidney disease, if that's the right one anyway. Nick knew this from the start. This house is clean, no pet smells thanks to the automatic cat litter boxes. He resented the cats because he wanted his family to move in. The answer was no. We never discussed this. He went as far as to ask me to get rid of the cat and suggested I put them up for adoption. The cats were not his expense. He hasn't worked a steady job in months while I've helped him fund his business meetings because I didn't want to kill his dream. He does contribute, but significantly less. I cannot live with his family. They are choosing beggars and moochers. The pattern is that his siblings and himself break off relationships as soon as babies are born. I realized this too late. Nick says his ex went crazy after she gave birth. His brother tricked his ex into moving with her parents while he found a home for them and the baby. He never found a house but knocked her up a second time, so her parents banned him from stepping into their home. The youngest brother hightailed his wife when she had her second baby. All siblings and his mum lived together. His reason for wanting them to move in was that we had 3 spare bedrooms plus a very large family room, and that would be great if they saved on rent. So I guess there was no intention to contribute. Long story short, I got really sick by the end of October. I never got so much as a kind gesture from him. I cried due to body aches and he just stayed away. His excuse is that I could be contagious. It wasn't COVID. He never asked me if he could get me anything to eat and hardly ever came to check on me. I spent a lonely Thanksgiving while still recovering because he left to be with his family. My loved ones aren't near because I left everything for him. At some point, we talked about marriage. I recently found out he's back with his side chick. I was going to hire a private investigator, but it's not worth it. I already know what I need to know. I got a hold of his phone and found about 3 weeks worth of texts. They are definitely having sex. I've held this inside of me because at first I was in too much pain to confront him. I don't wish it on anybody. We are hardly on speaking terms. He hasn't even bothered to ask me what's wrong. I didn't find anything on his girlfriend's social media, Laura. I did find more than I needed to know from her mother's profile. He has been active in their lives since at least last summer and has been lying to me. This hits close to home. While he's been lying to me about going to job interviews without any luck, I've been partially financing his lifestyle. He has a so-called business trip to the BVI. I no longer think there is business involved, or he may be combining with something else. I don't know if this is a fake business conference or what, and I don't want to know. I did see Laura's mother's social media and she vaguely mentions a trip abroad. I'm leaving him first because of the pain he's causing me, and second because he's a liar. I need advice to see if there's anything I'm leaving out from my to-do list, as I'll be disconnecting from him. I'm not granting him the luxury of knowing that I'm pulling the rug in advance. I already talked to the landlord as I'll be leaving the house slightly earlier. I'll be using Nick's trip to uproot myself. I already hired a company that specializes in pet transport since I'm concerned about flying pets in cargo. I have all their health certificates in order, so they will be coming to pick up my kittens by 9 AM. Nick's flight leaves much earlier, so he needs to be out by 6 AM. I'm moving closer to my family, and I've already made arrangements to board my pets until a new catio is built for them. My sister will take care of it. I will be living on my own property. I've arranged for the movers to come the same day, in the afternoon. That way I'll have time to pack up and separate my stuff from his. I'll have all of his personal items shipped to his mother's house because I don't want any personal interaction. All business efforts have been cancelled. I've made sure he gets no access to my clients and deleted the business plan, etc. I need to change all my passwords and all the pins on my card, and the Visa I've allowed him to use for emergencies because he might be able to draw from it. I also need to drain the bank account I let him use for personal expenses and close it. I think it's best if I do it while he's flying to keep him from using them. I don't know if I'm leaving anything out. I will leave immediately to avoid any surprises. His family coming to confront me, etc. He can now move in with his girlfriend if he wants. I think she lives with her parents, but he will no longer be my problem. Any suggestions? I'd hate to leave any loose ends.
Makes me feel so fine, so fine. Makes me feel so fine, so fine. I need to, really need to let you know, regret's been my friend too long, too long, too long. So fine, come as a beach so blue, where the waves come back to you, always back to you. Can feel sand between my toes, slipping round like Jack Sparrow. Let me try to explain, oh, let me try to explain, oh. I came here to drink it all away, still drink it all away, swear I'm not lying. Then I saw you sitting over there, it's been a couple years, hey, what's up with you tonight? Perdí mi número, puedo tener tuyos.
Hi guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.